What is up, everybody? X here, and today I'm going to give a little rundown of how the new system works compared to the old system, and how weapons are pretty much determined and how useful they are. Because in the old system, there are a few stats that the weapons were based off of, and or that you mainly looked for to judge a weapon's performance, and now there are some different stats you're going to be looking for when you are judging a weapon's how useful it is and how it performs and stuff like that. So, pretty much in the old system, how a gun performed was essentially based off of how much damage it did, how much speed you can get out of it, so how fast you moved, and how little a spread you can get. So pretty much you're just balancing those three stats. Range wasn't that important. Your range wasn't that important. Recoil was pretty much not really something you were looking for because everything was erratic to begin with. But now in this new system, you're pretty much looking for the range, the spread, and the recoil. Those, I feel, are your three main stats that you're trying to sort of balance out and get a good balance of those. Because damage now, I feel, because you can get stuff very accurate, you're better off being able to lay shots downrange that are accurate, and opposed to doing shots that do more damage. Because of the predicted recoil, it's easier to get those shots downrange, so being able to capitalize on that fact and being able to sort of give it in your favor that your bullets are going to be more accurate than the other person is what you're going to be doing in order to win gunfights. It's not so much a damage battle anymore, but it's more of an accuracy battle. And that shows in the predicted recoil and how you control weapons, because beforehand, everything was sporadic. You kind of just sprayed a bit, stopped, sprayed a bit more, and that's kind of how you did it. But now that everything has definite recoil patterns, it can be a little different, and it can take a while to get the hang of, because, especially for the assault rifle, which is probably one of the harder weapons to use now, just because of how its recoil pattern is. The way the recoil pattern for the assault rifle works is it shoots 3 bullets fairly straight up recoil, and then kind of heads off to the right and up. So you kind of gotta capitalize on those first 3 bullets and try and get those first 3 bullets as accurate as possible, so that you can kind of just burst those 3 over and over again. And you'll see that in the gameplay of how I'm using this weapon. It's kind of done so my first 3 shots are fairly accurate, and then I stop, wait for a second, wait for the recoil to reset, and then you start spraying again. If you tap it too fast, then you will pretty much just continue on the recoil from beforehand. So you have to have a decent amount of wait time in between in order to capitalize on how well you're going to be doing stuff and how well you're going to be able to outperform other people. So, right now, or I might as well talk about one of the big changes that I noticed, is that the range seems a bit more prevalent. I'm not sure if it's just me, or if it was mentioned in patch notes or something. I haven't read up on all of them as yet, but pretty much now it seems that the range has a lot more determining factor on how well your weapons are going to be. Because I've noticed, especially with the SMG, when I was comparing that to how it used to play, it seems now that the bullet drop-off is a lot more, that it does take a lot more bullets at range to kill people. And I think that's pretty good. Just having more definite roles for weapons is a bit more useful, so you can't have these SMGs that are outperforming ARs at an AR range, and like how it used to be before. So kind of just taking into account how well your range is for your weapon, because obviously before you could run around with a max damage AR and do fairly well in respect to range, because you could hit well from ranges. So just being able to mod your assault rifle so that it has at least a decent range, because if you're modding an assault rifle for such high damage but then you take away the range, you're going to be kind of pushing yourself into SMG dominated territory. That isn't really the best for winning gunfights, when you're kind of taking a mid-range weapon and kind of forcing it into a role that's more suited for other weapons. So you have to kind of take that into account of how well you are modding it, because obviously you can make an assault rifle that is like an SMG, but that doesn't really mean that it will outperform SMGs, where SMGs are more dominant and are more well suited for the engagement. So just taking those into account. Obviously spread before was a pretty good determining factor, trying to get your spread from not blooming as fast and being as accurate as possible on the first few shots. Now I feel spread is kind of more, it's more over time sort of based, so the more kind of, I guess you could say, leveled out, you can get your spread, the more you'll be able to burst it, and the longer you'll be able to kind of hold those bursts for and stuff like that. And obviously keeping your recoil down at a decent value will help you in the long run, because if you have a lot of recoil, you're speeding up the time in which you are reaching your maximum, like, sporadic recoil. Gets too hard to control. Recoil gets too hard to control, kind of like phase. So just trying to keep your recoil down and trying to balance the accuracy along with that, because if you can get a good balance between your accuracy, your range, and what was the last one I said? your spread. It kind of works out a bit better. Speed now I don't feel is a big determining factor. Before, being able to get around places really fast was kind of the best thing to do, but now, because everyone sort of dies and as little shots as they do now, it's more about trying to get those shots as accurate, not really kind of running into places and spraying a bit, then getting out of places and stuff like that. So trying to keep that in mind, just like trying to balance everything out. It is nice that stuff is more about an accuracy game as opposed to a damage game, because it does reward the players who can keep their targets, keep their line of sight on enemies a bit better, and line up their shots better. And it's not about who can output the most damage and hope that their spread kind of works out in their favor. So it's just trying to manage everything. And also a tip for getting used to the new recoil. You are gonna suck with it. At least I did. I've been having so much trouble trying to get back into the swing with the assault rifle. This was like the first game that you're watching that I did half decent with it and was able to kind of get the hang of how everything played. And it just kind of takes practice, because before I was kind of holding it for like 5 shots and then trying to reset, or I was kind of like holding it down and trying to drag it down all the way and try and counteract the recoil. But then I found that the bloom on the weapon kind of did get out of control in terms of like spraying, so you kind of have to get used to getting a handle on when the weapon sort of loses control and where the weapon is in control, and how you can maximize how the weapon is in control. So maximizing the time you can stay in that maximum control of your weapon, so that you can do as much damage as possible, because that's or lay down as much shots as possible as accurately as you can, because that is essentially what it is right now. It's all about accuracy. It's all about trying to get those shots on target that are going to be able to deal damage. It's not about putting out the damage, keeping the damage, and that's kind of repeating myself. Also for range, keep a decent range on your weapon. I really cannot stress that enough. Having some decent range on your weapon will really help you in maximizing how well your weapon performs in a certain area. So if I am using the assault rifle, which I currently have it modded for, I believe, up to 47 meters is my maximum damage. That's going to allow me to engage people at a lot better distance, or a lot safer distance, than 30 meters. Because in 30 meters, SMGs are going to be the dominant factor. They're going to be the ones that can put out most damage in that sort of space slot, or in that damage range, in that, yes, damage drop-off range. I'm not sure what I'm saying here anymore. But having the ability to stay out of one weapon's maximum range and being able to put them in your maximum range is essentially a good strategy to sort of capitalize on how well you're going to be doing damage and how safe you are going to be doing that damage. So if I am using a assault rifle that has up to 47 meters for my maximum damage, I want to keep people at the limit of that 47 meters. I do not want them to get so close that it is putting them at the advantage. So I want to keep myself at the advantage when it comes to range and capitalizing on that range and such. So that's going to do it for this video. Gameplay here is coming to an end. Hopefully these little tips helped you guys out a bit, and hopefully it will help you get used to playing around with the new system and being able to capitalize on your weapons. Just keep in mind, you want accuracy, you want range, you want tight spread. Pretty much anything like that is what's gonna do it for you. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys next time.